As I mentioned before when I introduced you to this pine box refurbishing project, this strip, because the grain runs this way, is separated over time from the lid with the grain running this way. My fix, at least initially here, is just to re-glue it again. That's not going to last. I'm thinking I might countersink and install some screws in the bottom. Right now it's just got tiny nails. I'm still not crazy about that though, because it attempts to restrict the movement. I'll see how it looks after it's glued. I might end up custom bending a piece of fairly thin steel, maybe 1/8 of an inch thick, that goes from here up the back and then over the top with some kind of a bolt or screw there just to contain this, but then to allow a little bit more movement too. I'm not exactly sure. I'll have to experiment a bit with that. Over on the chest itself, if you remember from my previous video, there was nothing to hold the lid from going back too far, and it did go back too far, and it broke this machine cut dovetail joint here, and it put a split in the top. So I've just bound it all up, but I want to show you something here that I find useful. This joint, this dovetail joint was loose, which means I could pull the pieces apart, but not completely apart. Not as far apart as I'd want to get it filled with regular glue. So I pulled the joint as far apart as I could, and I injected some regular wood glue into the joint. But as an added feature, I've used something here called Chair Doctor. This is a very thin viscosity glue that wicks into small spaces, and it swells the wood and then locks it in place. So I'm hoping, pretty confident really, that those two approaches to gluing are going to hold this corner together fine. Now, I've flooded on plenty of Chair Doctor here, and before I turned the camera on, I was tapping it with a mallet to set up a little bit of vibration to try to jiggle that Chair Doctor down into the joint as much as possible. And it has soaked in nicely. I'm going to leave it here for another few minutes, and then I'm going to wipe it off. Now normally I wouldn't have the luxury of being this sloppy with glue, and when I say sloppy I don't mean the way it looks now, but just simply even wiping the glue off, because if there was this kind of extra glue on bare wood and I just wiped it off and then I went to do some kind of a transparent stain finish, it would show up because the stain couldn't soak in where the glue was. Since, as you recall, our plan here is to use milk paint, I don't have to be that finicky. I'm going to wipe it off clean, but there's no fear of contaminating the surface of the wood. So I'll come back and show you how things shaped up when I can take the clamps off.